Okay, this is Rob from Running Wild, and you're listening to Heavy Demon.
How does it feel being 55 and being the king of the pirates of rock and roll and heavy metal?
Well, it's hard to say, you know. I just did another record, so to speak, and you know, when you're getting older, you see what you've done in the past. I reach a lot of highs, you know, with the band, and you know, because Running Wild is still there. Running Wild is doing all the headlining stuff for all the festivals and in Europe is no problem, and so this is a very special point to say what I've reached with this, you know.
Yes, and in this era of digital stuff, you are offering something very physical, like digipacks, LPs, and special packaging box sets. What can you tell us about this approach?
Well, it was always the way that the record company, you know, SPV, always wanted to give the fans what they deserve, and that means, you know, giving something special. And if you have a look on a box set like that, which we did, you know, to make something special for the fans, which they really can enjoy, and, you know, really can rely on what Running Wild is all about, you know, because we are around for such a long time, and there's so much fans outside that were always true and loyal to the band. So we want to give that back to the fans, you know.
Yes, yes. And what shall the audience expect from your new album, Rapid Foray?
In the first place, it sums up what all the things that Running Wild's standing for. You know, it's a pirate thing. It's you know, true heavy metal, and it's on the other hand, it's you know, the album with the most, you know, different songs I ever wrote. You know, there's so much different kind of reflections on the album, which I never did before. You know, all these 11 tracks are totally different to each other, you know, so I really try to make this kind of album very special. Even if, you know, I've got a long time to write on that, and even because of the fact that I broke my shoulder and could just 1 year not really, you know, not being included in the work of the album, you know, so. But on the other hand, you just couldn't thought about it, and you know, so I think this album is very special because I've got so much different song ideas which I could pick off. You know, I had about 30 to 35 basic song ideas which I could pick off these 10 or 11 tracks which made it on the album.
Yes, and there's the last song, Last of the Mohicans. It's 11 minutes long, something you did also on Resilient with Bloody Island. What can you tell us about this approach with these longer songs and more complicated, more elaborated songs? Well,
it's a part also of a tradition Running Wild always did. You know, we had this back then, you know, with the song called Calico Jack, or we had this with Genesis or Treasure Island. You know, from time to time I'm doing this because I've got a story in mind which I wanted to put to a song, and especially with this song, Last of the Mohicans. The idea came up first. It was around when we did the Victory album. It was the first time the idea appeared to do that. But it was not the right time to do it. And the idea came back, you know, when I did Shadowmaker and then Resilient. But there were two other songs that made it on the album, which was, the one was Dracula on Shadowmaker and Bloody Island, last album. But this time it was the right time to do it because when I started out to work on this song again, I figured out that all the musical ideas I would need to have the song and to tell the story also in the music, not only in the lyrics, would be the right thing to do, and that all the ideas were there just to do the song the right way. It should be, you know, figure out, you know.
Yes, and what shall the audience expect from a Running Wild gig concert in 2016?
Well, 2016, when we know shows, we will play live the next year. You know, I'm just starting out when I've pretty much I've got more time. When I finished all the promotion for the album, I can just sit down myself and meet some guys and meet some people to talk about what we can do in the live stuff next year. So we will play some festivals next year, definitely. But I really can't tell you now today which we will do or not, because the contracts have not been signed, so you can't talk about that.
Yes, and there has to be differences. Which differences do you find between, you know, playing in the 80s, the 90s, and nowadays playing and recording albums?
To record an album is way easier and not expensive as it was back in the 80s or 90s, because you can have your own studio, if you have a look on Pro Tools and stuff like that, so that's what we used to, and you got so much different kind of possibilities to reach what you want to have, and to work on the album, or to work on the songs, and it's so much easier than it was back 20 years ago or something like that. But on the other hand, if I have a look on younger bands, it's pretty much more difficult for younger bands to get the notice of the fans, because everybody's doing, their replacement, and then every doing this kind of advertisement in the internet. Everybody's doing that, so it's very hard to get the attention of the people. So when we were back then, when we started out in the 80s, when you got a record deal, it was the ticket. You made it. There was just a few bands that get a ticket, just like having a record contract didn't made it, So it was pretty much the first starting point. You can count on that. Okay, this is the basic, the foundation which you can put on a great career. And today, if you get a record contract, doesn't mean that you will be, very successful or get a second chance with a second album or something like that.
Yes, and since you've been the first to put the pirate image, the pirate things into rock and roll and heavy metal, for instance, there are lots of bands nowadays. In Italy, we have a great band called Black Bones. And what would you tell to younger bands, some advices from rock and roll to work on their image and music nowadays?
Well, the first place is stick to your guns. Be yourself. Be what you are. Not try to sound like anybody else. Everybody has this kind of, the legends he looks up to. We did this too when we started out with Judas Priest, for sure. Was one of the bands, or Iron Maiden. It was pretty much the stuff we were into. But you can count on that. You can put it as a foundation, but you really have to think about or find out which is the way you should go. You go your own way and do what your heart says to you to do, because nobody needs a mere copy of any band which is still around. It doesn't make any sense. You really have to figure out what you can do and what you can do best.
Yes, and I always ask this to American and European bands. Do you find any differences between the reaction of the audience and the press in the States and in Europe?
Well, not really, because some things are different for sure, because everything's a little bit bigger in America for sure, so this is the first part. But I think, the European fans are a little bit more enthusiastic. They're really getting more into that. They're pretty much more into the band, and American people just just going out to have a good time. You know what I mean? So they don't care if they see Running Wild, or the next time they see a totally different act or so pop act or something like that. It doesn't make any sense at all to them. They're just enjoying the evening, so to speak. And in Germany, you're pretty much more into the band, or in Europe, you're pretty much more into the, to the artist and what the artists want to say with the music and stuff.
Yes, and how do you find promoting nowadays music with the internet?
Well, this is in the first place what the record company does. It's not up to me, because I'm doing the real stuff. I'm doing the interviews. It's just about the phone and stuff like that. So the last time it was about 150 or something like that. So all around the world, and so this time we pretty much the same size of. And but what is all going on in the internet? It's pretty much more to the record company. So it has nothing to do with me. And we also got an official homepage, and which is running by Jens Pohl, and he does that very great. So there's no way for me to get involved in that,
Yes. So the Italian fans are waiting for you. Let's cross fingers and having you, playing around here.
There's the possibility to do that, because just like I said before, I'm just make up my mind which festivals we could do and which not, because I'm just starting out, getting in contact with all the guys from the festivals. And next week I've got some meetings about that, and so I really can't tell you now if we will do it or not, because it's too early to say this, because I've just started out with going through all the offers which we have for the next year, and to figure out which were the best to do,
Yes, so thank you for your time, dear Rolf. And one final greeting message to the Italian fans of Running Wild?
I'm very, very proud on the new album, and I really hope that all the fans like it the same way. And I really hope to play for a lot of fans the next year some live shows.